Okay, Mike. Now my second story about encounter with an ejection seat was a successful ejection, and this was I was an instructor pilot in Libya. We were seconded from Pakistan Air Force to the Libyan Air Force. They had newly acquired these Mirages, a lot of Mirages actually. I think at that time it was the largest single contract or something like 80 Mirages they bought. They had new oil wells and stuff. And this was I went there in 1973, and so I was there again. I was not very old, and I was born in '49, so I was still, I think, 1973. I was about 25 or something like that. So I was there, and I was flying a dual-seater Mirage, and I was in the rear seat, and the front seat was a Egyptian pilot, and who had Egyptian Air Force was training with the Libyans. They were quite close at that time, and they had come from the MiG-21s. They were all MiG-21, Egyptian MiG-21 pilots converting onto the Mirages. So there was a young Egyptian captain in the front seat. I was in the rear seat, and we went up and near Tripoli. Our base was in Tripoli itself, in the capital, and lovely, lovely airfield. It was old Velas Air Force Base. No, sorry. Yeah, it was, I think, called Velas Air Force Base. It was renamed Uqba bin Nafa. Anyway, so this is a very nice base. So we took off one fine morning, and a single seat Mirage, a friend of mine flying there, the Pakistani pilot, and me with this Egyptian student, so we took off together information. We went to the training area, which is south of Tripoli, about 150 miles or so. And we climbed up, and we did a few. So it was basically to familiarize these guys. They had done their dual rides. They were qualified on the Mirage, but to give some air combat maneuvering practice, and like starting with a tail chase with other airplane, and then you progress into he gets up on perch and he does a quarter attack and all that, good stuff. So we were doing that, and now these pilots who had come from the MiG-21, I don't know for whatever reason, of course, they were all Soviet trained, and they, at that time, I'm sure things have changed since then, they were not into air combat ACM, like dogfighting
No.
wasn't one of their things. They were, and they were very hesitant to slow the airplane and to, so in the Mirage 3, we used to have these angle of attack lights. They're like traffic lights. We used to call the Ademar lights, green, amber, and red. So and as your angle of attack increase either in high G or as you reduce the speed, so from green, which is normally when you're in level flight, it would go to amber, and as the nose kept being raised, it would go to then red, and red was like you're coming close to your alpha max or stall speed. So, and they used to when they used to be in amber, flickering red, they'd ease the stick forward and kind of. So the thing was, I was trying to show him that nothing happens. And so we got into again a scissors situation, slow speed scissors at altitude. We are about, I think we must have been about 28,000 feet. I don't remember exactly. So we got into slow speed scissors with a single seat Mirage, a friend of mine flying it, very good, very able pilot. And so we did a few of these, reversing turns, trying to make the other guy overshoot. That's in a slow speed scissor. That's the idea, that you reduce your speed, let that guy overshoot, and then match his turns with you and put your sight on him and shoot him down. So we were at pretty high angle of attack. We crossed right behind the other Mirage, and he was in full afterburner, so were we.
Oh.
And maybe at about 300 feet or something, we crossed right behind him, and his full jet blast hit our airplane, and it just buckled up like, bucked up like a rhino or, like those rodeo horses. And it went to this spin. And so, and we were a tall shoot. We were about at least 27,000 feet. So he said, oh, we are spinning. I said, okay. And the Mirage spin was a very straightforward. All you did was neutralize the controls, neutralize controls, and full in-spin ailerons. So, and, it would just turn from a spin, it will go into a spiral. So I said, okay, recover. So he did that, and I was following him on the controls, and it kept spinning. And the only thing I noticed was that it wasn't like the normal erect spin in a Mirage. This was a dual-seater, and the book, whatever our training had been, was that there's no difference between a dual-seater spin characteristics from the single-seater. Anyway, so, but I noticed that it's more like the nose of the aircraft was almost staying on the horizon. We are spinning, and it was not, normally it oscillates about 30 degrees below and then comes back up 30 or 20 degrees. So it's a oscillating nose while it's spinning the normal erect spin. This was almost on the horizon, a strange kind of thing. So I told him to apply the controls again to recover. He put full in-spin ailerons. We're still spinning. So I said, okay, I have the controls. And I tried the same thing again. And we're still spinning. Nothing happening. The airplane is, the controls seemed totally lifeless. And the engines were running. I put the throttle to idle. And then engine was running. And so now we are approaching 10,000 feet. And so I told him, I remember his name, Khalid. I said, and this time, then I could see his hands on the faceline thing, because I'm slightly higher than him and looking forward. Now in the Mirage, in the dual-seater Mirage, there's no automatic firing of the seats. Both individually have to pull the handles to activate the firing mechanism, except they said that the rear person must eject first, because the blast of the front person ejecting, front seat, because it goes backwards and upwards. It's not a straight up.
Right.
So that could burn, the rocket blast could burn the rear seat occupant. So I told him, I said, okay, I'm going to eject and you eject after me. But the moment I was talking to him and I said, I'm going to eject, he went, pow, he pulled it. And so, I must have closed my eyes or something. Nothing happened to me. I didn't get burnt or anything, which, thank God. And so I opened my eyes and I could see we are still spinning. So I said, eject. I thought he's still in there. The canopy is gone, but he's probably still there. So I said a couple of times very quickly, I said, Khaled, eject. And then I said, hell with you. And I pulled the handle and my seat fired. So it was beautiful. This Martin Baker, I think it was Mark 9 or 10. I don't remember, or maybe 10 came later on. It was a good seat. I remember it was the first time, I think, on the seat you could put the pilot weight. You crank in the pilot weight reduce your back injury. Anyway, so I ejected, seat separated, fine. And before I knew, I was in the parachute hanging and I could see the airplane hit the ground. It was
really?
It's a desert over there where our training area was, but it's not a sandy desert. It's all kind of rocky and stony desert. Nothing growing there. Absolutely desolate place. So I looked down and I saw the airplane hit the ground, almost right below me, and light up in fire. Then I thought, my God, he's quickly flashed. I was sure that this guy's in there and he's gone. But then I looked up at my risers to see if everything's okay. And I saw his parachute way up there coming down. So I said, oh my God, that's good. So he had ejected, because he had ejected about 3-4 turns before I had ejected. So he was way above me. Anyway, I pulled my risers to avoid, landing in the burning wreckage. And I landed pretty close to it, actually. I heaved on that, landed over there, and I Now parachute collapsed. Thank God, not in the fire of the airplane. And now he came and landed on the other side of the airplane, of the burning wreckage. So I opened my thing and I ran across to him. And he was lying there lifeless. His parachute had collapsed there and he was absolutely lifeless. And I went there and I saw and I shook him and he yelled out because he had actually broken his left leg. Ooh. Complete snap. Ooh. From the shin. It was really grotesque. I could see the blood come out on his G suit and all. Now that was on the landing. He had obviously broken it with the landing, and so he yelled out, and I opened his G suit and I tied a tourniquet on his above his knee to stop the bleeding. It had just snapped, now we are out in the desert. The single-seat Mirage, my friend, we could see him orbit on top. So he gave a exact ground position to the radar that this is where these guys are. So I was sure very soon we were going to be picked up. And now this guy was coming to and passing out again. It must have been really excruciating pain. I with the parachute cords, I tied it. So now we are sitting here. We have nothing, no water, no nothing. Even in the survival kit that in the thing, I found morphine injection. So I gave him that, and he kind of went to sleep. Now would you believe I heard helicopters, the noise of helicopters. Oh my God, that's pretty good. So I heard the noise of the helicopters. Obviously, they had been patrolling somewhere else looking for us. And then the noise went away after about half an hour. So then I saw a C-130 on a search pattern. Didn't come towards us. And I was saying, what the? So we had these emergency walkie radio, but they had no batteries in them because these airplanes had recently been ferried from France to Libya. And in some of this survival things that we should have had other equipment like medication or other, we had wooden blocks that they had put for the ferry, or they had sent them separately. Anyway, so I made a kind of a shelter with a parachute for him. We were picked up finally around sunset. We had ejected about 12 o'clock noontime. Wow. And around sunset, the helicopter finally found us and came and landed and took us. Unfortunately, they had to amputate his left leg. They couldn't, and they actually flew up to Germany and they did the amputation over there. They said if he had been picked up earlier, they could have probably saved his leg, but it was a pretty bad thing. So that was my happy ejection, successful one, thanks to Martin Baker.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of follow-up questions here to hear. So, first of all, when you went up for that, you were doing the rolling scissors and stuff like that. Were you a clean jet, or did you have tanks on as well?
We had tanks on. We had, the Mirage, it's been a long time, but I think I still remember we had large, like ferry tanks. They were 1,300 liters or something each, big bulky tanks. And then there was something called supersonic tanks, which were, I think, around 700 liters each or something. They were far more streamlined and narrower and thinner. I think we had supersonic tanks on our airplane. I think the other airplane had 1,300, but I don't remember the configuration. But yeah, and just a note here, Mike. After my accident, initially they blamed me for the accident. I kept saying that it wasn't a normal direct spin; it was a flat spin. And even from the helicopters, later on, a few days later, we took pictures. The airplane, when it hit the ground, there was no forward speed at all. So it had hit the ground and it had stayed in just that one place. From the wreckage. So there was it was complete flat spin coming down like a falling leaf, And on the wreckage, it had broken from behind the cockpit. It was twisted about 30 degrees, but the whole plane was intact. There was nothing. Normally in a crash site, I've seen a few that there's some dragging of the airplane because there's some forward speed. Mm-hmm. There was no forward speed at all. So my contention was that this was unrecoverable flat spin. And the book said that there was no difference. And fortunately for us, it was a couple of Mirage Dassault pilots, test pilots, few weeks after my accident, ejected out of a flat spin in a dual seater. So then they reduced the ADMR, the angle of attack limits on the dual seater Mirage versus the single seater Mirage. So I was absolved of the
wow
by criminality.
So when you heard the helicopter and saw the C-130, was there no smoke and fire from the wreckage to say, oh, it must be over there, or was it gone by then?
Yes, it burnt down, because this was, I'm talking about 6 hours after, more than 6 hours after it was ejected. But then I was surprised because I could hear the helicopter soon, well, maybe an hour after we had ejected, I could hear the helicopter, but he should have seen us, especially in the desert, the visibility should be okay. I don't know. They didn't see us, spot us. And they didn't see the fire. The fire burnt out pretty quickly, actually. And because these were maybe the smaller tanks, and we didn't have much fuel left by the time this thing happened. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you were on the ground, obviously for that amount of time, were you like nervous, anxious, like are they going to find us, or were you completely calm? How was your mood?
I was nervous. I was scared, actually. I was scared for myself also, and I was more than that, Mike. I was worried about this guy, my friend, the Egyptian pilot, and because he was coming to launches, and I made a kind of make-do jury-rigged kind of tent with the parachutes, but it was very, very hot. It was very hot in the desert, and he was coming too, and he would say something, and he would pass out again. And so I was thinking maybe, I was nervous about him, and I was actually getting very agitated because why can't they pick us up? Because the single seat Mirage, my friend, he had orbited right on top of us, and he had probably told them that I can see 2 parachutes, so they're okay, or giving them some kind of a report. And the radar and they had a very good radar cover in Libya at that time, so they should have pinpointed the exact location. Yeah. And yet they couldn't. So, but thank God, it was getting evening, and I was worried that if night falls, and then we'll be done for. But they found us almost dusk time, and they came and landed a helicopter and took us back to the base. Yeah.
Great stuff. So last question I'm going to ask all the guests. Did you get a bit of the aircraft or your helmet from that ejection?
I've got the faceplane handle. I got that. Actually, and that's the only thing I've got from the wreckage. Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, Tahir, thank you very much for sharing that, and I'm glad you landed safely. Unfortunately for your pilot, but still alive, which is great. But thank you very much for sharing your story.
Nice talking to you, Mike. Cheers.